Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's been a long time coming, but my lab renovation is finally done and I'm ready to show it off to you. It's taken so long just because home improvement projects always take longer than you expect them to, and I pretty much immediately started using the lab when I could, so it's always been a little bit messier than I would have liked it. So it took me a while to just accept that it's going to be a little messy so I could show it to you anyway. So here we go. Oh, and one more thing, if you're interested in where I got any of this stuff, I'm going to post a lot of that in the description section below, so check that out. If you don't see what you're interested in, feel free to leave me a comment and I'll either answer you directly or add that to the description as well. So first of all, I've gotten all new lab furniture. This is actual, real lab furniture from a real lab furniture supplier, the same stuff that you would find in a classroom or a real lab. And in fact, a lot of these pieces of furniture, I have the exact same ones in my lab at work. They've all got the black epoxy tops that are very resistant to a wide range of chemicals and heat, and all of the wood is treated to be somewhat chemical resistant as well. And on the other side of the lab, I've got a real large table that is a very nice work area. Next to the table is my new lab fridge, because the old one got saturated with some pretty nasty smells, so I threw that one out and we got a new one here. And on top of that is a Dessicator box that holds my water sensitive or deliquescent materials. And the way that that works is there's a little tray, you can see a white tray in the bottom of it, that's got calcium chloride chips in there, which is this is called Damp Rid. It's a product that absorbs moisture. It's anhydrous calcium chloride. So that absorbs all the moisture in the cabinet, and then you can put whatever you want in there and it'll keep it dry. In this corner of the lab, we've got some lab appliances that are really handy to have. The bottom right there is my scale that's very accurate, really nice. It's great to have an accurate scale for chemistry. Next to that is the lab toaster oven, which is good for heating things or drying things. And then to the left of that is a kettle, electric kettle that boils water really fast. That thing has actually been invaluable to have. And you can also see some of the lab signage that I printed out. Those are real nice cardstock posters that are laminated, so they're going to be good for a while. And it's just, that stuff is just safety information up there, like the fire diamond and the GHS placard. And also my fancy new lab coat that I got my girlfriend's mom to sew for me. On the right hand side is my cleaning and drying station. So there's some paper towels, there's distilled water, there's a drying rack, and those white trays are actually very handy for, I'll put dirty things in the white trays and then carry them over to the bathroom, which is right across the hallway, to rinse them off. And the blue jug back there is for extra distilled water. So I'll fill that up with 5 or 6 gallons of distilled water, and then you can dispense it as needed, and that's been very handy as well. Down here are the storage cabinets where I keep all my glassware. You can see each one of them is individually lockable, which would be nice if I have company over. And then inside this is most of my glassware, this beakers and flasks and measurement devices and whatnot. And then in my other cabinet, I've got all my ground glass. And at the bottom there, I have a little rack in there for the round bottom flasks so they don't roll around. This includes stuff like my distillation setups, separatory funnels, basically everything that can fit together. And in the center is the set of drawers that I use to keep the things that I use the most often. So the top drawer has things like, glass stirring rods, pipettes, spatulas, all kinds of stuff, whey paper and whey boats and things like that. Next drawer down is all the vials, because I tend to make a lot of compounds just as parts of experiments, and I keep them in little vials, so I use those all the time, as well as test tubes and stoppers. Next drawer is electrolysis and heating stuff. So you see my power supply. This is my little micro furnace that I've used in previous videos, as well as lots of graphite crucibles and molds and such. And at the bottom we've got larger bottles and some spare gloves. Coming back to signage, I wanted to point out this awesome periodic table poster that I got from a place called ptable.com. I talked to the designer of this for quite a while to narrow down the specs for what I wanted as far as size and material, and he made it to the right size that I wanted, and he was able to make it in vinyl to make it a bit more resilient to chemical splashes or something like that. So this should last me for quite a long time. It's very high quality, highly recommend it if you're into that sort of thing. And next to that, of course, is my very favorite poster in the world, No Horseplay in the Lab. The really cool thing about this poster is that far away it looks like solid colors, but when you really zoom in on it, you can see that there's lots and lots of information on each one of these squares. So it's got information like the boiling point, melting point, oxidation states, all kinds of great information for educational value. It can be a bit hard to read, especially if you're not right up on it. So in my case, the little details are a little bit hard to read just because it's behind my table. But if you have a space where you can hang this at eye level, where there's nothing in front of it, I mean, this is a great resource for your classroom or your own use. And then over here in the closet is where we keep all of the chemicals. So first off, you see that I've got the actual storage cabinets for these sort of things. So I've got a flammables cabinet and a corrosives cabinet for flammables and acids respectively. And those were pretty expensive to get, but I think it's completely worth it. I mean, just for peace of mind, really. The flammables cabinet is meant to keep flammable things inside of it. So if anything catches fire, it's not gonna ignite anything that's inside of it. And then the acids cabinet has some nice sloping shelves in there, so if anything does spill, it drips to the back of the container where it's not going to get out into the environment. So those are really, really nice things to have if you can afford them. And in the center here, I've got the bulk of my chemicals that I've labeled according to my storage codes poster that you may have seen a second ago. Green is general storage, blues are corrosives, yellows oxidizers, reds are flammables, and orange is health hazards. And some of these things fall into multiple categories, and occasionally I've labeled them as such. So, if there's a flammable health hazard, for example, it'll have both a red and an orange sticker on it. You don't see any red stickers here, of course, because they're all in the flammables cabinet. And the corrosives that you see are just all the bases. And I kept these out of, I didn't want to mix the acids and bases in one cabinet. So I put all the bases out here because they're primarily solids. So even if they do spill, it's not as big of a deal as an acid spill, say, where it's going to be a liquid that's going to go everywhere. So theoretically it should be easier to clean up. And then up top, one of the important things I wanted to point out is those SDS binders. It's extremely important that you're aware of all of the hazards of the chemicals that you're working with. So I went and printed out SDSs for every single one of my chemicals, which was a hell of a lot of chemicals. I mean, you can see how big those binders are, and there's 2 of them, and they're just full to the brim of information. So that sort of stuff is useful. If something goes wrong and you can't communicate what the problem is, all information is in the SDS binder. So if once help arrives, you can show them exactly what was spilled on you. Anyways, it's very important to have that sort of thing. You don't necessarily have to have it printed out in a fancy binder like I went with, but if you have that, you'd have to have that information available just in case of emergency. And then the final piece of furniture actually comes with a pretty funny story. So it's this gigantic cabinet, and my original plan was to put that in the center of the room where the chest of drawers ended up. But as you can see, it is enormous, and it just would not fit. It would fit in the room, but the problem was getting it in the room. It would not fit through the hallway to get into the lab. So we had to put it in this other room. This is the spare bedroom that's next to the lab. So inside is storage for stuff that I don't use very often. More spare bottles on the top shelf, and things like propane for my little propane furnace that I showed you earlier. And just a wide variety of things that I've collected but don't really have much of a use for yet. That's the top 2 shelves. My girlfriend took over the middle 2 shelves, and then on the bottom 2 is not chemistry related, but those are my gold mining and rock hounding stuff. That's another hobby that I'm into nowadays. And maybe if there's some interest, I can do some rock hounding videos too. I don't know. I don't know if I should keep my channel as solely chemistry, or should I expand into all of my other hobbies as well. And if you have an opinion on that, feel free to make some comments in the comment section below. In the end, I think the debacle about getting this thing into the lab worked out pretty well, because now this is in a separate room, which is not ideal, but I did end up ordering that second cabinet that I now keep my ground glassware in, and having those 3 cabinets forms a nice single tabletop surface along that whole wall. So I have a ton of workspace in there now, which is awesome. And finally, I just wanted to give a personal thanks to all of my subscribers, and even if you're not a subscriber, thanks a lot for watching my videos. The encouragement that you guys give me, the fact that you enjoy them, really gives me motivation to keep going. I'm I'm sorry that I don't post very often. I know I don't want to set a schedule for myself, because I feel like, you know, if I commit to posting a video every week or something like that, then I'm forcing myself to be in here, and the quality of my videos might suffer because of it. So sorry for the long delays in between videos, but I feel like that's the way to get high quality stuff that hopefully you guys will enjoy and continue to enjoy. So once again, thank you very much for all of your support, and I hope to see you in future videos. Thanks a lot for watching.